this program is brought about because several professionals in our community have come together and started this initiative, recognizing that there is a dearth of programs and services that promote and support men's health in our community. I'm particularly moved to speak because I also had a life-changing experience, and sometime in the future in one of our presentations you'll get a chance to share my story. I'm intrigued this evening because I'm in the company of some illustrious men, and we wish to welcome all of you, our guests. Those of you who are viewing live on GIS, we thank you for joining us. We have a number of persons who are using the social media platform. We're on YouTube, we're on Facebook. We invite you to share the link and let your friends and neighbors and family, probably especially your men folk, know that some good stuff is being spoken about here this evening. We also expect persons to be joining us via the radio, FM 88.5. In the studio with us is some special men. Right? I'm familiar with one of them, and one of them is just the cream of the crop this evening. We have a young man here with us. His name is Akeem B. Williams, and Akeem is a community nutritionist, a new title to me, so Akeem will share a little bit about himself with us. Dr. Martin is a medical doctor and a public health practitioner, but Doc will defer to the gentleman, young man first. Akeem, tell us something about yourself.
So first of all, if you must know, I have graduated from the University of the Southern Caribbean,
right,
with a bachelor's degree in nutrition and dietetics.
Okay.
But I currently work with the Food and Nutrition Council, and as you said, within the capacity of a community nutritionist.
Right,
now,
right.
A community nutritionist is a nutritionist with a different focus.
Right.
So in community, it's a bit more broad, where we focus on populations. So we look at the nutritional things in the society that are affecting health. Whether it's overnutrition, whether it's undernutrition, whether it's prevention, whether it's being in the middle. We will look at that. We look at communities as a whole, opposed to being in the clinical setting where you look at individual persons.
Okay.
We tend to more focus on communities. So how can we do an intervention that doesn't impact one person, but can impact an entire community?
All right, that's very interesting, because while my experience was prefaced on one person, we have some information around. But Dr. Martin, a little bit about you and your work. Well, you'll tell us how this whole engagement evolved.
Well, the thing is, I mean, a lot of people are aware who I am. I don't think I need any more introduction,
right,
except to say that the issue of men's health and health as a whole has been my focus for all of my professional years, and in particular because I have been in the right place at the right time to see and observe firsthand the effect men's health have on not just men, but on society as a whole.
Right.
And that has given me both the opportunity and the privilege to be able to provide some further information on men's health. So I'm really looking forward to the discussions over the ensuing weeks.
Well, over the ensuing weeks, we're going to be speaking about some interesting things. Men, I want you to grab your seat and be sure you're here this evening. We're going to be having some Grenada cocoa tea as we talk about these important things. Tonight, we're going to be speaking about on your mark, get set. This has to be a hot topic, and one of these evenings we will speak about the fact that women pause, and the big question on our minds will be, do men pause too? Stay tuned, folks. We're going to speak about interesting things like whether or not you're Shakespeare, to be or not to be a cocksparrow, right? And there's some myths of manhood that we're going to speak about. Interesting stuff coming up. People, stay tuned. One of the things that prompted me this afternoon, and it resonates very well with the discussion we're going to have, Dr. Martin, is this. I found an article that shared what was happening in the diaspora. Out in Maryland, sometime last year, there was a convocation or some issues being spoken of on men's health. A line that stuck with me was this, and I'm expecting you to shed some light on this in our conversation this evening. The article written by one Macari Kemp says that one of the most common health issues that men face is erectile dysfunction, also known as ED. It goes on to say well, this conversation happened out there. And as I zeroed in on what was happening in country, as recent as May this year, right, I came upon a discussion on Loop News that spoke about a gentleman, Mondale George, young doctor, right? So just like you, Akeem, right? We're happy to have our young people coming back and give service, right? This gentleman is being hailed as a household name. What is interesting is that he is styled as a private mobile physician. So it seems to be one of the new breed of people that are coming out. So just as we have the mobile phone reaching everybody, it's possible to have service reaching you, and that's great. So Mondale, wherever you are, I want to give you hail up and congratulations for the service that you're looking to employ. He makes the comments, gentlemen, that a few sustainable ways we can make positive changes to our health is to carry out slight modifications to our diet. This evening, we're going to be speaking on the subject. On your mark, get set. We have with us Dr. Martin, we have with us Akeem, and gentlemen, I want you to inform our viewers what are some of the issues that we need to be cognizant of as we look at this topic. We have a few questions with that, and we could probably kick off with this, Dr. Martin. It is said that the health statistics for men are far worse than that for women and children in Grenada. As a professional in this area, could you shed some light on that and help us understand why this is so?
Well, this is so, first of all, because looking at the data associated or the data that came out of men's health for the last 20 years or so, it consistently showed that for the 10 leading cause of death in Grenada, men die far younger than women. In 8 out of the 10 leading causes of death, with cancer being the number one. It also showed that in the last 60 years, last 6 decades or so, the life expectancy of women has consistently increased over the 10 that God gave us to live.
Interesting.
The life expectancy of men have only just crossed the 10.
Wow.
So life expectancy of men was in the 60s for many, many, many years, and it's only a last decade or so, probably not even last decade, probably was 5 years or so, the life expectancy of men have just crossed that 70 years barrier.
Right.
So this is the data that we have available to us. There is a number of reasons why men's health situation may be the way it is, and there is no one size fit all, except to say that looking at the world of how men's health have been construed and viewed, up to 10 years ago, and probably a little more than 10 years ago, of all nations of the world, there was only a handful of nations in the world that actually had men's health programs.
I came upon that fact.
Right, or men's health framework. But fast forward 10, 15 years, now a lot more countries are embracing men's health issues. Even the World Health Organization, as an organization, really did not have any men-focused health programs for many, many decades. And in the Caribbean here was probably just a few countries, Brazil being probably the only one that really had men's health. So you find that over the decades, focus has not been paid on men's health, and in many countries, especially the Caribbean and Latin American countries, a lot of focus was on female and child health.
Correct.
And hence the reason now we're reaping the benefit, or we're reaping the reward of neglecting men's health.
Right.
So now we are seeing this whole issue. And so in my mind, that is one of the major reasons why we're seeing what we see.
What we're seeing now. Okay, so I'm not surprised, therefore, that I had a recent life-changing experience.
Right.
And one of the challenges for me was that I didn't know quite where to turn. I count myself a pretty educated man, but that experience beat me.
Yeah.
So I was really knocked, and I'm privileged to be here because I'm on the other side of it. And it was one of the things that motivated me to take this step, to call you up, and some of the other professionals who we hear from. And I thought about the other men, those who were not as fortunate as I was, to have had somebody who could have explained to me, this is what is happening to you, right? And there is a price that I'm paying for that experience. So, Doc, I'm keenly interested in giving focus to what you, in your mind, or companion here, Akeem, thinks or know of as the top causes of sickness or death among men in Grenada. Let's see if we could enumerate it and give it some focus so people are clear in their minds what it is we need to look at. Our subject this evening is on your mark, gets it?
Well, I could probably comment on the what men are dying from,
Right.
and then I would let my colleagues speak on the risk factors associated with it, because it is going to be very clear that, as Dr. Mondale George indicated, that small changes in diet and lifestyle makes a huge difference. Now, for men, even up till now, cancer is still the number one cause of death.
Okay.
And of all the cancers, prostate cancer is still the number one cause of death. We also find that cardiovascular diseases is also a major one. Heart disease is another major one. What we find interesting over the last 10 years or so is that a lot of women get strokes, but they die from the strokes, so they don't live and suffer. A lot of men get stroke as well, but they're not dying from the strokes. So a lot of men are living with complications of stroke, and that really damages their quality of life, makes it difficult for them to function. It's almost as though God's saying, well, we don't want to kill you right now. We'll stay and suffer a little bit more before we actually go to do that.
Okay.
I just smile.
Right.
And then complications of diabetes, complications of trauma, and so on. But what is very central to all of this, and I would leave my colleague to take it from there, is that it is very clear, Akim, that the diet and the food that men chooses to eat, and I'm saying choose with a pinch of salt, because society also encourages men to choose certain types of foods. But I will let you comment on this.
And you're 100% right.
Right.
I say to my clients all the time, from the day you come into this onto this earth to the day you die,
Right.
the one thing that you do consistently is eat.
That's true.
and so given that,
Yes.
it means we must now pay a greater level of attention to it.
Right, I agree with you.
What I have found as relates to nutrition and overall health behaviors is that a great percentage of the time is that we are unaware.
Okay.
And so if you're unaware, one, you don't know that you're doing something wrong.
Correct.
Two, if you are doing something wrong, you don't know how to fix it.
Fix it because you're not
So firstly, you mentioned that environmental approach. How is our environment affecting what we eat? Because yes, we can choose, like Dr. Martin rightfully said, but also what we eat is also impacted by what we learn.
Okay.
What's when you go to the grocery store, what's right in front of you? What makes up 80% of the grocery store?
The sweets.
So correct.
Right.
If we look at where men work and where they play, if we look at when I'm hungry, what do I go for? What's the first thing I grab for? It's either going to be a fast food. When I talk to the few male clients that I do get, you hear it's a roti. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with a roti, but when you look at the consistency of the meals over the lifespan, I think that's where we see some of the greatest problems.
So your comments are going to lead us to examine two other questions in detail. We're going to take a break soon, but when we come back after the break, I want us to be able to pick up on the points you were making, right? Think about this, Dr. Martin. Are there stages in men's life when they are more at risk for certain diseases than others? I learned a few things about life stages for men in my experience, right? And I think it's important for us to zero on this. You mentioned food, Akeem, and we want to let our viewers know that we have some sponsors that are deliberate about what they would have provided us here with. We have some natural, local Grenadian products. I'll tell you all about it when we return after the break. Stay tuned, and we're going to have an exciting conversation. Gentlemen, I'm happy you're here, and we look forward to a rewarding time.
COVID-19 spreads from person to person through the droplets that are produced when someone coughs or sneezes, which makes it easy to spread between people in close contact. Now let's get prepared to stay healthy.
To reduce your chance of catching or spreading COVID-19, practice these simple everyday preventative measures. Droplets can also land on surfaces, so ensure that you wash your hands frequently for a minimum of 20 seconds or sing the happy birthday song twice. Avoid touching your face, especially your eyes, nose, and mouth. If soap and water are not readily available, use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer with an alcohol content between 60 and 90%. 70% is ideal.
When you cough or sneeze, cover your nose and mouth with a flexed elbow or a tissue. Dispose of the tissue immediately and then wash your hands. If you notice someone has a fever and cough or other symptoms of respiratory illness, avoid close contact when possible. Let's all do our part to ensure that each and every Grenadian remains healthy. Our health is our collective responsibility.
The house was shaking. Then started story here, babe. Crack, and the roof had gone.
Man, I was so scared, I nearly wet myself.
Only those who have lived it can truly understand the devastating fury of a hurricane's wind.
The house across the road just get up and roll over.
Hurricane force wind. It's a hazard. Hazards. Take control. Reduce your loss. You can hurricane-proof your home. For example, make your roof more wind-resistant by using screws instead of nails in its construction. Find out more about hurricane force winds and other hazards at your local disaster office. A message from the National Disaster Management Agency and SEDERA.
Welcome back. While we were on break, the men at the table took the opportunity to sample some of the goodies. We're drinking tonight some Grenada cocoa tea, and our sponsor for tonight's cocoa is the Montparnasse Plantation. They make a splendid package. Akeem, just show us one of the package. In their product, you can get the single teacup size bits of chocolate. It's an excellent product. Dr. Martin, how did it go with you? Right? He is particularly intrigued by...
I am always intrigued by the facts of the matter, and what stands out to me is that this cocoa has this amino acid called L-arginine in it, which is extremely good for increasing blood flow.
Right.
And the release of nitric oxide.
Right, so blood flow sounds like something to do with that. So cocoa is good for you, gentlemen, right? Cocoa is good for you. In addition to the cocoa tea, we have some chocolate, and we want to recognize our sponsor, Tri-Island Chocolate. He's doing some great work. That's a gentleman called Aaron Sylvester. He has a product that has bee pollen in it. Right, so it's excellent stuff. I think the yellow one is bee pollen, Dr. Martin. Oh, and as we're speaking on bee, there's an interesting resonance in our discussion, because we have some honey. We'll talk about the honey later, and who's the honey sponsor. But we have some good things going on. We can get excellent products from Grenada. When you make your choices, I want you to be deliberate in the supermarket. There are a lot of things that are available that are cheap, and you hear the young man say just now that we have to pay attention to what we purchase, what we eat, right? So I want us to move straight into those two questions that we pondered before we took the break, right? Are there stages in men's lives where they are more at risk with certain diseases than others?
Yes, there are stages, and the stage that I think about mostly is as a child. In Grenada, there is a clinic called Maternal and Child Health Clinic, where a woman takes their children to clinic, But it turns out that clinic goes from 0 up to 5 years old.
All right.
And so that's why the life expectancy of a boy and a girl child is the same at birth.
All right.
But the life expectancy of the boy starts to drop after 5 years.
Wow.
And to my mind, the reason for that is because the maternal and child health clinic stops at 5 years.
Interesting.
So after 5 years, a boy has no serious reason to see the doctor anymore. But girls always do. Because that girl, when she gets to adolescent, that girl, a period starts. And in the first year of a girl's period, there might be irregularities in the period. So the mother gets a chance to take the child to the doctor for the period.
Right.
Of course, it's for the period, but the doctor may get a chance to see something else that's going on in the life of the child. And then she becomes 18 years to 21 years, and the guidelines say a girl must go to the doctor again when she becomes, because she needs to get a pap smears done. And so she may go to the doctor for pap smears, but as I said, the doctor may get to see her for something else.
Okay.
But there are no institutionalized checkpoints for boys along the way.
All right.
So boys experience those risk factors at that time. The first risk factor for a boy is after 5 years, because his health starts to weigh down.
Okay.
Because there is no institutionalized checkpoint for that boy.
Okay.
At that time, the boys may develop in different tastes, and the parents don't pay attention to that taste. The second risk factor for that boy is during adolescence, when that boy testosterone starts to grow, and that boy starts to assert himself as a young man. Instead of parents harnessing that energy as a young boy, we start saying things like the boy starts to assert himself in the house.
Smelling himself.
He's smelling himself.
Yeah.
Two male crab can't live in the same hole.
And you know that's one of our topics, eh?
Yes.
Yes.
So that first risk factor is after 5 years, and then that secondary factor comes on when he's adolescent, when that boy needs specific nutritional needs for his bones and his muscles to develop, for his hormones to develop, for him to assert himself and be a real man. He needs good nutrition so his testosterone can be nice and strong, his muscles can get nice and big. Because he is more bulky than the girl. So he needs a nutritional. That's a risk factor there, because if you don't harness the energy of that young bull that is growing, he is going to either go south or be nurtured, and you have to figure out what you want to do.
Okay.
And then as he grows into a teenager, the taste and the food choices of the adult is sealed as a teenager. And so whatever he eats as a teenager
is what he would likely continue to crave for when he gets older
of his life.
And that could make him susceptible to certain types of illnesses.
Absolutely.
As he becomes man. So I learned from my experience that there are some gaps that some people in our society know about and others don't. I thought after 21 was adult until you die. And I learned the hard way that there's a few punctuations in between, especially as affected men, that some things can happen to men in that adult phase that we weren't keenly aware of.
Right.
Because we weren't aware of, there weren't the support structures to assist some men. Right? Because we weren't aware of, some men, even like myself, didn't know where to turn or how to explain what was happening to me. You'll hear the story another time. Akeem, I want to take your comments on specific nutritional requirements for men as opposed to women. Any quick thoughts you want to share on that?
With regards to nutritional requirements, overall, and again, because when we talk about nutrition, we can't just always isolate nutrition, but if we eat in food, it comes as a complete package. I kind of would want to centralize around that. So for specific requirements, we know that across the macronutrients, so that's protein, carbs, and fats, but protein and energy, let's say calories, is generally higher for men. Typically because of the build, like Dr. Martin mentioned, and the ability to work. When we look at the micronutrients, for example, the B1, B2s, and B3s, those we know help with metabolism and help with, again, the body convert the micronutrients into energy for us to work. Again, in supporting the overall development of the body, we're looking at things like magnesium and zinc especially right? Zinc. Those play a really important role. Now, again, we did mention that if it is at that stage that we haven't set the precedent for consuming a balanced diet, consuming things that are local, that's not traveling across the globe to get here, that's eventually diminishing the nutritional value. Wow. We're looking at a society where people are fed, so we're full. So we're eating a lot of carbs, we're full.
Strong point.
But at some point, we're missing those micronutrients.
Strong point. So I want us to underscore this by your comments seem to be appealing for us to have a greater consciousness in our society now to eat local. It was a phrase that we used often, but without teeth. It was just like a dance: buy local, eat local, right? And then the structures within our society to encourage it weren't there. This little tidbit I find was missing, but from my whole psyche of knowledge, right? So that I think there's a great opportunity now for us to be deliberate about consuming locally produced products, right? It would give our small manufacturers a real boost if we are deliberate and strategic about that, right? Because there are a number of players who are now coming forward. They make great products here, but one of the challenges we have is the limited uptake of the local and the Grenadian product. There's some issues we have to tend with, but
there's an issue we have to tend, but that is something we need to keep going. Akim spoke about because men are bulkier and heavier and do a lot more work, they need a lot more of the macronutrients, a lot more of the protein and so on. But Akim also mentioned something that I want to piggyback upon, and that's the processed foods and so on, or the things that, how Akim call it? Take a what? A boat to come?
They travel across the world, essentially. Come on a boat.
It's something we don't think about very much.
Now,
strong point.
In the 1950s and probably even up till now, the U.S. government has pumped billions of dollars in the production of two commodities in the United States. That is high fructose corn syrup and soybean product. Now listen to me carefully.
I'm listening now.
Soybean products is genetically modified soybean products, because we don't use organic soy here in the Caribbean. High fructose corn syrup has found themselves in almost every processed foods that there is, about 90-something% of the processed food. And I'm going to say that over and over as long as I get a chance to do so.
Right.
And that high fructose corn syrup is for another discussion somewhere later on. But what I want to focus on now is the soy products.
Yes.
The soy products that have found themselves in 94% of our processed foods, in all forms, pastries and all kinds of things. But these are genetically modified soy.
Dangerous.
And they're used to feed animals because of the estrogen content in it.
So they make you more girlish?
We're talking men's health, right?
Sorry.
And while while we do understand that men have a certain amount of estrogen in us, as women do have a certain amount of testosterone in them, you want to make sure that your boys at specific times in their life consume as least soy products as possible.
Very interesting.
Because it has the estrogen buildup in it. And TV has made it so strange that there's some women who even boast that their children don't like milk. My children is allergic to it's only soy milk my child could use,
What a mistake. Right? So I'm hearing from you, Doc, that there are a lot of things that we took for granted.
Yep.
And my people, I think this is a pivotal time in our history when we need to relook that whole notion of eating locally grown food.
Yep.
Right? There needs to be a deliberate effort in our country to right that trade imbalance by providing our people with import substitutes. Now, this is a heavy discussion, and it's a little, they would say sometime above my pay grade, right? But I'm raising it because I'm in it as a manufacturer and a producer, right? And we have a demonstration here on the table, and in the coming episodes, we'll have a chance to showcase more of the products from our cooperative. We have good products, local, natural, right? Products that we can use and we can be deliberate about advocating so that our people can be well fed and brought to manhood the right way. So today we're discussing on your mark, get set. Is that it?
Yep.
We will take a break shortly, and we'll come back to finish this discussion. It's going great, folks. Stay tuned. We have 6 episodes lined up for you. We have a wide cross-section of panelists to give their views and give their information, share their expertise. We will be here on this program Advance every Monday at 8 o'clock. And we look forward to you joining us. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors especially. We want to attract the men folk in our community, right? I've had in my traverses occasion to meet with a number of men who had the conditions that you speak about. We'll hear about it when we return.
This is Sammy coming back from Juve. Here comes Sammy again. This time, he is hurrying to join the fancy mass band. It is now after Carnival. Sammy and Robbie are liming on Wall Street.
Come on, Sammy, man. Dive where you're throwing the bull. Oh, you do have respect for the environment or what?
Got just one bone and the dog eating that just now?
Oh, yeah, not only dog, rat too. Throwing bone on the ground so those cause rodent. And besides, you don't looking good, man.
Oh God, man, I mean, this kind of talk spoil you, spoiling the line, man. Relax yourself now.
I can't relax when you're dirtying up the environment, so do the right thing.
All right.
Nice. Let me head for the garbage bin.
Let's keep our islands clean. Take your garbage with you if no bins are available. Don't throw garbage out of vehicles and on the streets. Stop, think, use the bins. A message from the Department of Tourism and the Grenada Tourism Authority.
This is Sammy coming back from Juve. Here comes Sammy again. This time, he is hurrying to join the fancy mass band. It is now after Carnival. Sammy and Robbie are liming on Wall Street.
Come on, Sammy, man. Dive where you're throwing the bull. Oh, you do have respect for the environment or what?
Got just one bone and the dog eating that just now?
Oh, yeah, not only dog, rat too. Throwing bone on the ground so those cause rodent. And besides, you don't looking good, man.
Oh God, man, I mean, this kind of talk spoil you, spoiling the line, man. Relax yourself now.
I can't relax when you're dirtying up the environment, so do the right thing.
All right.
Nice. Let me head for the garbage bin.
Let's keep our islands clean. Take your garbage with you if no bins are available. Don't throw garbage out of vehicles and on the streets. Stop, think, use the bins. A message from the Department of Tourism and the Grenada Tourism Authority.
Welcome back, viewers and listeners. We have an opportunity to focus on the subject. On your mark, get set. Right? Can you? Now, while we are out, we had a chance to hear what some of our listeners are sharing and saying on the social media platform. So, permit me not to call name, but one person said, I believe a major issue that men struggle with is not paying attention to their health. And they're correct. Right? Okay. But this other party responded, probably listening to what one of you gentlemen said. So gentlemen, take this one. So, is the woman that kill us smartly because they're left in the kitchen to do the cooking? Well, this one is a little bit for me. So, gentlemen, let me hear your thoughts on that one. Let me offer something. It could very well be, gentlemen, that what we were served is because our people didn't know differently. Can I really honestly implicate my mother for not giving me XX? Let's call it man food. Right.
I don't think
maybe she gave what she could have afforded.
Right.
Maybe she gave what she knew. And I'm so happy, ladies and gentlemen, that we're doing this program. So we're beginning to let our people know that there's a little special attention you have to pay to the men.
If I could, if I
could
jump in on that point, one of the things I've always liked to share, and again, going back to our parents, because I often tend to wonder what is different now to then. Okay. And especially as a community nutrition, you have to look at it. Right. Because even though we're living longer, we're still seeing a rise in chronic diseases. Okay. What I've noticed, especially as relates to diet, and I looked at it with my mom and my grandmother, because my grandmother had diabetes, she lost her 2 eyes, she lost her 2 legs. I had an aunt who died last year, same story. And again, I have to be extra careful, because if I'm looking at it, I must look into what they're eating. And so what I found was that we eat a lot of starches and a lot of carbs. It was okay for a period when we were in the agriculture age. We didn't have vehicles, so we had to walk from town to Grenville. When I heard the stories of my grandmother getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, she's going to the mountain, and by 6 o'clock she's been up and down about 7 times. This is miraculous. We're not doing this amount of work.
Correct.
And so we've had a shift in culture.
Okay.
We had cultural dances. Those are pretty much out the window.
Okay, correct.
So we had a different society.
Yes.
We've shifted in a way, but our diet has not shifted with the times.
Okay.
And so we can't blame them, of course, because again, like I said in the beginning, it's a lack of awareness. So until I'm aware that, okay, this is causing a problem, I will keep doing it.
Okay.
You see? And so I've found that to be one of the greatest challenges. And so again, to put a plug for balance, that is also absolutely important. From the Food and Nutrition Councils, we have launched our food-based dietary guidelines. It's on Facebook. It's almost everywhere. It's in every clinic. It's in our schools. We have to pay attention and start that conversation. How do I make a change? It's no longer an excuse to say, well, yesterday, no. We're starting the conversation for men. And for men, I think it's important for us to now understand that here's what, we're not living as long. And we're having poor quality of life. Now I need to find the information to make a difference.
So I'm happy for technology, because what it has done is that it has leveled the playing field. And we believe that we have an audience beyond our boundaries in Grenada, and there are folks in North America who presently are following us. So the information that you're presenting is accessible to a wider cross-section. I mean, folks in the community outside, we want to invite you to have your men tuning to Advance. This program is being sponsored by the group Men Advancing Progressively. We think that there are going to be hitches as we move up that spiral, but we're looking for a progressive incline that would get us to a better place than we were before, And I'm really happy that your organization is now staffed with young blood like you, people who are indeed progressive, people who are being able to leverage the technologies and bring the information to our people in a dynamic and new way, So, folks, if you have any questions about what you should eat and shouldn't eat to be able to make that change in your diet for your health, for your own longevity, tune into the Grenada Food and Nutrition Council. Don't be afraid. Tell them I say ask for Akeem B. Williams. You can't miss him if you ask for that name.
I'm at the clinics. At the clinics here in the community. Medical stations. You can find us there.
Right. Very good. Very good. So Doc, you hasten on. Tell me, Doctor, are there early signs that men should look out for as an indication that their health might be failing? I'm getting from you that we have to be concerned because the clock is not really ticking in our favor as men until we do something about it, But what signs can I be aware of that would help me know I need to do something, I need to check the doctor? I heard you mention, if not in this forum, that men don't like to go to the doctor.
Right, and men don't like to go to the doctor for a very specific reason. I have a theory as to why men don't like going to the doctor, and we're going to do that theory sometime later on. Because when I speak about it in public, I've never had a rebuttal. So, in other words, society has programmed men not to go to the doctor.
But I heard you say something about there being an institutionalized process.
Absolutely.
The age 5. You have to correct me. But there is something that I also didn't know.
Right. But now you understand.
Now I understand it.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
So the whole system, whole healthcare system and society and culture and everything program men not to go to doctors. And we're going to talk about it at some
So tell us, early signs.
But there are early signs that something is going on. Now, generally, a young man is quite a healthy man. And in his teenage and early 20s, generally, men don't really have an issue, A young man, urinary tract infection, for example, is a very common thing in ladies. So doctors never investigate urinary tract infections in women because every Monday morning we have to treat that. But anytime a man has a urinary tract infection, we always investigate because it is not something that normally happens. So in other words, men are almost programmed to be healthy and strong and be able to robustly
something from
Creator, right? But the life of a man changes after 30. But it's subtle changes that he doesn't know. So for example, the testosterone levels in men starts to drop after 30 by 1% every year.
Wow.
So that by the time the man is 40 years old, 10% of the testosterone is gone.
So Doc, you prompted me to ask a question. Oh, I stopping my thing from falling?
Well, that's another discussion. With hopefully over the series
1%
A year.
A year. That's a big drop, Doc. I mean, I had to plug the hole.
I'm telling you, I'm hopefully through this series we're going to find the time to talk about it. But by the time he's 40, 10% gone.
Wow.
By the time he's 50, 20% gone.
So are there things that we can do to address?
Absolutely.
Yes.
There are things we can do to address it. And when that happens, the entire man as we know him starts to deteriorate.
Wow.
And granted, this is a 30-year-old man who feels that he's in the prime of his life, who feels that he can party every night, who feels that he can eat all sorts of things, including some of the things we have around the place that we call thing for the back and things for the this.
Okay.
That is another myth we have to discuss, because at that 30 to 40-year-old man who feel that he's all good and he's doing all the kind of thing that even decreases his testosterone even further, but he doesn't know. Because the myth of society and life tells him that he can do certain things
all the time,
but those things are working against him, so he may not know. And so a man who is really sick starts showing physical symptoms after 40, and I guess that's why most of the medical books says get your regular check. 40 seems to be a magical age in medical books.
But Doc, they haven't explained that to us.
Well, I know.
All they say to us is that you should check it out regularly. Right. But I think for our people to be able to act, right? Remember, in this room here, we're men of a fairly high educational level.
Well, I hope so.
We could deal with it.
Right.
How do we get the other men? And this is what prompted me to start this series. Because in my dilemma, I didn't know a lot of things.
Right.
And this thing really beat me.
Right.
Because I had some props. And somebody told me, this is what is happening to you, and I've investigated. This is why I'm here able to speak today. I thought about the other men
who
don't have what I had, and this is why I'm here with this series. How do we provide and equip our people so that they could deal with those challenges?
The thing is, it's not a one size fit all, and this is a situation where it has to be an all of society approach.
Okay.
Where each sector is multi-pronged, multifaceted, many areas to find out how to
folks,
get.
That is why this conversation is being started, so that those of you with the wherewithal to be able to contribute to that process of change can jump in and do so.
But you did ask a question that I want to. I wanted I think you deliberately asked, are there ways a man can tell that his health is deteriorating?
Yes.
And to be honest, because it takes a while for the cardiovascular disease to have outward showing and the diabetes to have outward showing, there are very early signs of cardiovascular disease. And one of the earliest signs of a cardiovascular disease in men is his erection.
Wow.
His erection starts getting softer and harder with a lot more complications. And it will start as early as in their 30s, as I indicated to you, because that's when the testosterone starts to drop. And so you would see that statistics in different places at different times, but some research have actually shown that at age 50, 50% of men have erectile dysfunction.
Wow.
This is a lot.
A lot.
I mean, we're not talking about other things, but because that's in itself is a huge topic on its own.
Right.
But, a man's erection is a really early sign. I used to call it a clock. Or thermometer, I think I used to say, or thermostat, something like that in the early days I used to say. But it gives an early sign that the blood vessels are beginning to have problems, and so it tells a man that you have to start thinking.
Issues.
But usually what the man do in that stage, he ignores it, but tries to do all kind of clandestine and innovative ways to give him
So it takes me to a question that we have here, Doc. It's very common practice among men to use supplements.
Right.
We on the right track with that?
Boy.
Give us some guidance.
I'll really have one Akim to help me on this one as well, because I am of the firm opinion that living in the tropics with the kind of ability to farm the way we can, a Grenadian man do not need supplements.
You mind repeating that? There are some things the doctors say that needs to stay on the shelf. All right, there are some things that need to stay on the shelf.
Yep.
Right there. So let's go, Akim.
I'm going to jump in here.
Yes.
And I may have a different perspective. The issue I see with supplements, and we've seen it through the
the entire COVID is that we want supplements to be the fixing of the problem.
Oh.
That's what we want.
Okay.
And so when the grown person's like, okay, I can do what I want, but I can just go pop a vitamin C, pop some zinc, or pop a multivitamin, hope it's going to fix the problem. And again, we're looking at men's health, but we're not addressing the foundation. So like Dr. Martin said, and he's correct, very correct in that we have fertile soil, all right, and we have the availability, we have fruits and vegetables, everything can grow here and they're seasonal. If we harness that, the thing is, there might be a point, depending on how active you are, depending on the lifestyle, because it's different for everybody. We may need a supplement, but we may not need it with the mindset that we take it. So it shouldn't be, okay, I'm taking this because I need to sustain me for life. That's not the objective. It's a supplement to supplement a diet.
So you're saying our people should go back to the land and grow what you eat what you grow. This is a good point for us to take a break. And when we come back, we'll pick up the discussion. These men are hot like gas. Let's take some hot chocolate.
COVID-19 spreads from person to person through the droplets that are produced when someone coughs or sneezes, which makes it easy to spread between people in close contact. Now let's get prepared to stay healthy.
To reduce your chance of catching or spreading COVID-19, practice these simple everyday preventative measures. Droplets can also land on surfaces, so ensure that you wash your hands frequently for a minimum of 20 seconds or sing the happy birthday song twice. Avoid touching your face, especially your eyes, nose, and mouth. If soap and water are not readily available, use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer with an alcohol content between 60 and 90%. 70% is ideal.
When you cough or sneeze, cover your nose and mouth with a flexed elbow or a tissue. Dispose of the tissue immediately and then wash your hands. If you notice someone has a fever and cough or other symptoms of respiratory illness, avoid close contact when possible. Let's all do our part to ensure that each and every Grenadian remains healthy. Our health is our collective responsibility.
Welcome back, everyone. The discussion was great so far. Actually, let me take a comment we had from someone online. Rosemary Welsh wrote in and said, very healthy and educational discussion. Right. Thank you, Rosemary, for sharing, and we encourage you to continue sharing. We'll take another quick comment from online. I'll read this one in a moment, but let's take a plug for our sponsors, right? So we had the chocolate, we had the cocoa for cocoa tea, and the men have been down in the cocoa tea. The person who provided the cocoa tea, Mount Parnassus Plantation, we want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to experience the goodness of Grenada, right? The cocoa tea, gentlemen, can be sweetened with sugar, but we also have the option of using honey. And we want to thank our sponsor, Great Taste. I think that's a company that's headed by G-Links Limited, for providing us with honey. We know that they do a variety of value addeds. They give us an opportunity to experience the honey and Grenada's spices. Doc, I'm aware that Great Taste has a Bourbon honey, right? They're on the right track? Based on our discussion? Right.
The Bourbon, the compounds and chemicals in the Bourbon is very similar to, I think we call it phosphodiesterases, where these compounds, what they do, they increases the blood flow of blood into the vascular system, and the penis, of course, being a vascular organ, gets a lot of that. And it also increases the production of nitric oxide, which increases erectile function. So the Bourbon is very well known and formulated in its natural way to increase erection. Coupling it with honey is a wonderful, interesting addition because together with the honey, there is the antioxidant properties of the honey that increases the ability of the bourbon to actually do the job that it wants it to do. Some formulations in other parts of the world have also added an alcohol molecule together with the bourbon. These are all help to open the blood vessels and increases blood flow.
So that you have a better functioning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, get set and off the mat.
Get set and off the mat. and sweetening the cocoa with the honey again is additive, because the L-arginine in the cocoa increases blood flow as well, increases nitric oxide, and sweetening the cocoa with the honey is much better than doing it with the sugar. So it's a wonderful combination that
we want to really thank our sponsors. Again, we want to mention Tri-Island Chocolate. We want to mention Montparnasse Plantation, and of course we want to mention Great Taste for providing these the opportunity for people to have an experience with this. But Akeem, there were some points you wanted to make. Let me take one brief comment from our sources online. Ramon Barry reminds the men, if you want your bamboo to work, listen to the doctor and go and get checked. Right? That's Ramon's recommendation. Right? Don't take it slightly. So, Doc, we want to thank you for coming and sharing. Yes, go ahead, Akeem.
Right,
there was some point that you wanted to make, and we want to give you a chance to take it.
Specifically to the erectile dysfunction.
Yes.
There is a nutrition aspect again that I think is important that we want to touch on, and we want to touch on in the area of prevention.
Okay.
Because again, we know that when it starts in early teenage, the habits go throughout the life.
Okay.
And so what we've noticed, especially in nutrition, we see a lot of trans fats. So when we look at the diet of the highly processed food, so that's a lot of our breads and so on, pastries are made using a lot of things like shortening. So you go to the grocery store and you see those margarines and those shortening, and they're hard at room temperature. What has actually happened is that they've chemically converted liquid oil to solid. Now the body recognizes it differently. What that can do is that it sends our bad cholesterol up and our good cholesterol down, contributing over time to clogging our arteries. Now, what can actually happen, especially with erectile dysfunction, is that we can see that we said the clogging is the smoke, and we can see the erectile dysfunction probably being the fire behind. It happens later. So if you're having the clogging, and again, it's a vessel that we're talking about, it depends on where that's happening.
So has to do with blood flow.
Really have to do blood flow. We really want to watch it.
You want to watch it.
And look out for those foods. So I always encourage persons, oil is an excellent option to bake and to add to our breads, and golden orienting and cooking is totally unnecessary. And it's not doing us any help.
We like it for the taste.
We love it for the taste,
but it's not good for our health.
It's not in the long run.
So am I able to dare say, go local and go back to your coconut oil?
I can jump in.
We miss some opportunities when we allow the industry to fall. Sometime today, a gentleman asked me a question about getting into coconut oil production.
Right.
I had to be cautious because I recognized that we lost a lot of fields. We're doing a lot of coconut now, but for the jelly.
Right.
Probably we should also tell our people to plant the tall trees so we could get the cupra. And we could get back to the oil production, right? And be able to eat healthy, eat local, right? So some thoughts, some things to think about, right? And coconut trees nowadays bear from around 5 and 3 years.
5.
Right? Somewhere between 3 and 5 years, right? And some trees start bearing, so you could establish a field while you're still young. Get coconut, right? And be able to change things. We had at least one other question we want to stick in before the clock chimes down on us. We want to thank those who have shared in the audience, and we encourage you to continue sharing. We want to build a wider following. The next one is going to be better. We had some technical difficulties when we started today, and I want to commend our technical crew for taking care of things and having us back on stream. So we're streaming again, and you didn't even know that we had a problem because our boys took care of it. Brothers, I want to thank you for doing a great job, right? You're great at it. Doc, this question is one we must answer before we leave this evening. What's the best way? So we recognize we could be on the decline and we didn't even know.
Right.
I'm happy that I was here today. I learned a few things. See that 5 years thing?
Right.
I'm watching it. So now I'm eating bush like crazy. But what's the best way for Doc? You recognize that something is going wrong.
Right.
What's the best way for our men? And we want to target again, not the fellas that have the dollars and could go, right?
Right.
And buy big.
Right.
We have to speak so that the ordinary guy could understand and recognize he can do something about changing his health status, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So what's the best way for men to revitalize themselves if they recognize something is going on?
That is a very, very difficult question to answer. And the difficulty in the question is not because the question in and of itself is difficult, but habits.
Okay.
Men are creatures of habits.
Wow.
People are creatures of habits.
Okay.
And so the difficulty comes in that man's ability to physically change what he ought to do right now.
My.
That's a uphill task for men. Because if you really sit and ask men what you need to do to stay healthy, most men know, you know.
Okay.
When you really sit and ask people, they know, you know.
They know.
So I think what has to happen is we need to figure out what is it that is making it so difficult for men to do what they ought to do right now.
Okay.
And then maybe that's the way we can help some of the adult men. But the male fraternity on a whole, revitalization starts in the brain.
In the brain.
In the mind
Okay.
of the boy. In the mind of the boy. I don't know how we're going to get into the minds of the boys.
It's a lot of work.
Right.
It's a lot of work, but
This
this is where we have to start.
Doc has presented us with a challenge. Right? This conversation wouldn't end, and probably is why it's a good time for us to invite you to join us next time. We're going to be here, not this Monday coming, the following Monday, and we're going to be addressing another topic. We have 6 crucial topics lined up, right? Let me give you a preview and a reminder again. So, men, women pause. Do men pause too? To be or not to be a cock sparrow? No, that's the question. Huh? There are some myths of manhood that we want to explore. Doc has touched on them. And we will ask the question for some of our men folk to answer. So you're the breadwinner. And then what? Now, the real showstopper might be this one. So don't miss the others if you want to be part of the list. This one, right? The title, One Male Crab in This Hole.
Wow.
Right? So we have some big bones to contend with in the coming weeks. We think that is going to be an excellent opportunity for our people to learn. We want to invite you, if you're a professional, especially a male professional, make yourself available so that you can contribute on this forum. We welcome your interventions, not only online. We will provide a number. You can reach out to us on 416-1718, especially if you're a professional, so that we could get your input. Our people need to be fed. Our people need to understand the issues. What I looked at, you mentioned WHO today, and I saw a similar article speaking on men's health in Europe. It was a short 1 page.
Right.
When I had my challenge, I found information on the internet, but I'm pretty sure it's not our people that wrote it.
Absolutely.
Because the people in the picture didn't look like me. Right? Probably that's why this thing beat me up so.
Right.
But I was lucky. I want to thank the fellow that helped me. I'll tell you who he was next time we meet. Friends, it's been an enlightening time sharing with you. We look forward to an opportunity when we could come again and give freely to our people. Gentlemen, I want to thank you for being the professionals that you are and the excellent service that you're giving our community. Young man, I'm particularly proud of you. Young blood, you're doing good thing. Right? Yeah. Give him a big up now. Ollie, give him a big up now. Right? Yeah. Right? I heard about, through the little research I did, this Dr. Mondale, 32. I mean, he's a young fella. Right? And Mondale is out and about. Right? So he reminds me of a man that used to come and cut your hair with his little grip.
Right.
Right? Today, the barber's only working in the liquor shop. So if you want haircut, you have to come, right? So this doctor is out and about with it, and he's making trips, and you also are a community nutritionist. It sounds real new to me. It's a concept that I wasn't aware of, right? So I'm happy for these changes, and I'm happy to see that there are men folk that are leading the charge. I want to encourage other men to have a vision for the future. Education is a key door opener, and we want to have more of our men folk being able to contribute to build our society, right? So that we could have a better place to live, right? And we could keep Grenada pure, keep Grenada sweet. We have a lot of great things in store, and I'm looking forward to the chance when I could share with you some of the exciting opportunities for us to know what's happening in our country. Why don't you give me a call? I'll be happy to talk to you, right? Again, it's a great pleasure being here. Men are advancing progressively. right? And tonight we're drinking cocoa tea thanks to Mount Plantation. Gentlemen, thank you for coming, right? And we look forward to a time when we will engage again. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.